do have our work cut out for us as usual today, and I would like to open by welcoming our new Vice Chair, Senator Dietrich. Appreciate you. So with that, today we are going to be looking at budget recommendations. Last week we heard the budget. I gave everyone homework assignments to be prepared today to make recommendations on that budget. So with that, I will open it up to whoever wants to get the ball rolling. Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. On the recommendations that we have for the Kansas Department of Commerce, I've got more than one. Do you prefer to take these one at a time or the whole ball of wax at one time?
I prefer to take them one at a time.
Thank you. I prefer that as well, but I'm not the chair. And I always do what the chair wants because the chair is smarter than I am by a significant amount.
Well, I appreciate that, Senator Peck. And for the record, we did not coordinate our clothing today. There's been some speculation made that Senator Peck and I did, but we did not. So continue, Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I would not try to suck up to the chair by coordinating. Anyway, let's move forward. On page 12 of the budget write-up, there are several recommendations that spend a significant amount of additional money. And what I would propose is number 25, that we agree with the governor's recommendation, but delete number 25, which is a $10 million hit to the state general fund. And I have been working with our fiscal analyst, and so I think that would be it for now, would be just to delete number 25, the funding in number 25, which is $10 million that would stay in the general fund, that would give us greater opportunity to, by saving this $10 million, to reduce taxes on Kansas families.
Okay, thank you, Senator Peck. I do have a question, and whether it's Dylan or someone from the Department of Commerce would like to address. Can someone tell me what is the difference between the $10 million in item 25 going for economic development versus the university grant funding projects? Can someone tell me why the differentiation there? Dylan?
I can give a quick little analysis, but obviously the Department of Commerce does have representatives available to provide additional clarification. I do not believe the items in 25 have the same matching requirements. They also don't have the same set aside for NIR that's associated with them. They are both intended for economic development, though.
Thank you. Any other further questions, discussions on this recommendation? Okay, Senator Peck, I think we'll just go ahead and take your next one, and then we'll get consensus on all three.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. I had received an email. Actually, I did not receive it because I didn't get to my computer, so I apologize in being just a little bit slow here. But the next item, number 26, there is a recommendation of $27.9 million, all from the Job Creation Program Fund. And the revenue is a transfer. The revenue to that fund is a transfer from SGF. So that is the reason that I mention it, because if you look at it, you say, well, that's the Job Creation Program Fund. Well, no, it's ultimately money from SGF. And Mr. Deere, if there's any additional information that, because I had a discussion with our fiscal analyst, if there's any additional information that you wish to put in about our discussion, not to offer an opinion, but about what we had talked about that I have forgotten about, you're welcome to mention that.
Yes, Dylan, can you explain how that transfer works?
Madam Chair, certainly. That transfer has been capped at $3.5 million per year for a number of years for monies flowing into the Job Creation Program Fund. That money comes from withholding taxes. And so it's simply a diversion of revenue that otherwise would have gone to the state general fund. My understanding of the motion is it would delete language increasing the cap on those transfers from 3.5 to 27.9, which would have the net effect of increasing the SGF ending balance by $24.4 million per year.
Thank you. Questions, comments on item 26? Senator O'Shea.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Maybe a little bit of clarification following up on that about on page 15. When you look at number 15, Job Creation Program, add 5 million JCPF. Can you explain why? Can you just explain a little bit about the differences between those two explanations?
Certainly, Madam Chair. And if you want me to take a stance to this podium, I can do that as well, or I can just continue to respond here.
Are we okay with, I'm fine with you being there so you have your materials? Yes.
So one is just like an add of expenditures from the JCPF. One is a change in the law, which establishes the cap on the transfers. Okay, there was sort of a shift between SGF spend and JCPF spend between fiscal year 2021, or excuse me, fiscal year 2022 and fiscal year 2023 because of some additional appropriations of state general fund dollars to make up for some expenditures from the JCPF in FY 2021 for things like the hire fund. And I know that sounds really complicated, but what it amounts to is the expenditure of the $5 million is a more typical JCPF projected spend versus the 27.9 is a fundamental change in sort of policy where you're just talking about, okay, we're going to increase the amount of money flowing into this fund to increase the balance in that that closing fund. So, you know, very, very, very different.
So Senator Peck, are you recommending eliminating that or maintaining the current cap on the Job Creation Program Fund?
Maintaining, yeah. No, maintaining the current cap.
Okay.
Not putting additional funds. So I'm not wanting to eliminate the Job Creation Program Fund. I want the money to be there, but I want it to stay as it has been in the past.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that that clarification was made. Senator Dietrich?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just so I'm clear on my notes here, so the cap is $3.5 million, and you're suggesting we just maintain the cap, $3.5 million. Thank you.
Correct.
Seeing no other questions, Senator Peck, you're third.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And then number 27. So I kept it fairly simple on page 12, 25, 26, 27. In 27, there is a recommendation that we add $195 million, all from state general fund. And my proposal is, I originally thought about totally eliminating that. And I thought, well, no, let's just drop it down to 20 million. That way, there would still be some NIR money for WSU. And so my proposal is, again, rather than adding 195 million, we would add 20 million. So it's savings of 175 million that, again, would stay in the state general fund that provides the legislature greater flexibility in reducing taxes in other areas. Because it's easy, Madam Chair, when we have all this money that we're hearing that we have as a legislature in the state budget to say, well, that, 195 million, that's not that much of the 2.9 billion surplus, but 195 million here, 10 million there, pretty soon we're talking about real money. And so I thought that, well, let's start whittling back because I want to have this extra money for debt repayment, a rainy day fund, and tax cuts for Kansas citizens. So that's my whole focus in these proposals.
Okay, questions, comments? Senator Dahl.
Thank you. Wasn't that Senator Dickerson that said that pretty soon we're talking about big money? Everett Dickerson from Wisconsin, I believe. Billion here, billion there. All three of these sometimes you got to invest money in order to make money, especially 26. It's, I've spent a long time teaching and always would tell my students, to break the chains, break the chain, break the chain, put another piece of paper on the wall will open so many more doors for you. When we have this, in order to have these funding for people that they're going to increase tuition. They're going to either that or the funds go away. So I'd like to see these stay, especially number 26. I mean, I think it's critical.
Okay, other comments? Senator Ware.
Yeah, as to the university grant funding projects, I think it's important to keep in mind that this is a public-private partnership and it's a one-to-one match for them to get the money. Yes, it's a big number, but again, investment, not just expenditure, but investment. Thanks.
Any other? Senator Holland.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I do appreciate the good senator's efforts to bring forward this amendment to manage the budget, but I'll be very candid with you. I really like how the Department of Commerce, how they handle their resources, how they're moving the department forward. I mean, where they've taken the department versus where it was even 7, 8 years ago to me is just incredible. And I did want to call the committee's attention, the legislature with its Republican supermajorities just passed this monster mega bill. And quite honestly, that whole deal was led by our lieutenant governor putting that deal together. And so to me, Madam Chair, when you see the legislature endorsing that in both chambers, I think that really to me says your legislature really has confidence in Department of Commerce. And so I think we just need to leave the budget pretty much where it's at. Thank you.
Senator Dietrich.
Madam Chair, before we left on, I guess it was just yesterday, you had suggested, or whenever, no, not yesterday, last week, when we were looking at this budget, you had suggested that we add the additional $15 million for the Salina campus in number 17. So I think I would like to suggest that we do take care of our Salina campus. So that was a $35 million add between $20 million for NIAR and $15 million for Salina. That would be $35 million, which again is a big number, Senator Peck, but I think it's essential that we get that piece taken care of.
Senator Dahl.
Can the senator from Shawnee tell me where that's at?
That was an add. The $20 million would be earmarked for Wichita State University. That's already there. But the $15 million was verbally asked of us, was it Thursday of last week, for the Salina campus, for the aviation program.
Okay, so where I hear we're at and where I want to get consensus from the committee for our recommendations to Ways and Means are on these 3 items, but I want to take them one at a time and just see if we have consensus or if we can adjust based on the feedback that we've heard from the committee. So on number 25, the higher education grants, it's been recommended by Senator Peck that those be eliminated. So I would ask, what is the will of the committee on that item? A motion has not been made. What is the will of the committee? Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So if you're looking for a motion, I've got a motion I will make, but before I do, I misspoke. There is one more item on fiscal year 22, and we can get to that because you are specifically on 25. You prefer to move forward 25 before I talk about anything additional, correct? All right. Well, I would make a motion that in our recommendation, we delete number 25 on page 12 from our recommendation.
I have a motion by Senator Peck and a second by Senator Stephan to eliminate number 25. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no? No. Appears the noes have it, so that item will, division has been called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Seeing 3, all opposed. Seeing 5, that motion fails. So that will remain as a budget recommendation. Okay, Senator Peck, did you want to address another item before we move on?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chairman. On number 26, on page 12, I would make a motion that we stick with the statutory amount rather than, and I don't know, I can't wordsmith this well enough. I trust that our research department can, that we, rather than add the $27.9 million, that would, we would leave it at the $3.5 million. I'm not sure exactly how to say it, but leave the job creation fund, program fund, at the $3.5 million as is current statute.
Okay, Dylan says that he can wordsmith that. So in essence, we have a motion to maintain the JCPF as is currently stands at 3.5 million rather than increase it to the recommended amount of 27.9. Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Stephan. Any further discussion before we take it to a vote? Senator O'Shea.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did do a little bit of research on that one, and if you compare us to other states on that one, we're pretty far behind. So I'm going to vote to keep it. Thanks.
Okay, seeing no other questions or comments, all those in favor of maintaining it as is and not increasing it, please say aye. All opposed, no? No. Appears the noes have it. Okay, division has been called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Seeing 3, all opposed. Seeing 5, that motion fails, and we will recommend the increased amount. Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And it's been mentioned about last week's Apex bill, which is going to expend a significant amount of state revenue. I was a no on that, just for the record. Of course, it's already on record. But let's go to number 27. And Senator Diedrich brought up something that I'm willing to talk about that or look at that as it relates to page 12, number 27. My proposal was to drop it down to 20 million. Now, if it's necessary to get this into the language that we bump it to 35 million rather than 195 million, if that would fit in that particular area, I'm willing to work with the senator on that. So I'm not going to make a motion at this time because I'm curious. Well, maybe I should make a motion and then we'll see where it goes from there. So I would make a motion that on our recommendation on page 12, number 27, we drop that dollar amount down to, I'll say 20 million. We'll see if that flies. If not, I've got another motion that I will make.
Okay, we have a motion from Senator Peck to drop the university grant funding projects amount down to 20 million. Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Stephan. Any further discussion or questions? Senator Holland.
I think this is an especially good program, and I'll be voting against the motion. Thank you.
Senator O'Shea.
I'm not sure if mine's a question or a statement, but I do find this one a little confusing in terms of Wichita State versus University of Kansas versus K-State Salina campus, in terms of just how is that decided. If someone could shed some light, that would be helpful.
Senator, are you referring specifically to the NIAR Works program and how that works between, or in general, the university matching grant program in general? Okay.
How do you keep it fair? Thank you.
Okay, we do have representatives from the Department of Commerce, if they would like to speak to that. And we do have a handout dial in that might help with some of that, but if you would, Rachel, if you would address that, and please state your name for the record.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Rachel Willis, Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Commerce. So the $175 million in this particular allocation would go to those challenge grants, and this would require a one-to-one match. It would be run as a typical grant competition with each university being able to apply once or submit one proposal.
Thank you, Rachel. I will say that I too have had quite a few questions directed my way about this program in particular. It is a large amount of money. There are some questions around how do we know that this will be an effective use of money. So I do know that there is concern around that, and I would definitely like to see some reporting and some accountability for those funds going forward. So any other discussion or questions? Seeing none, I have a motion to drop the amount for the matching funds down to 20 million. A motion by Peck and a second by Stefan. All those in favor, say aye. Opposed, no? No. Here's the noes have it. Division has been called. All in favor, please raise your hand. Seeing 3 hands. All opposed, same sign. Seeing 5, that motion fails. I would entertain another motion, I believe, from Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't want to continue going down a road if I'm going to be losing on every one. So I would more than, and I don't even know how to approach this, but if it was dropped down and left 35 million in, I'm curious, and I'm not going to ask any particular senator how they would vote, but I guess I would be interested in discussion if we dropped that, deleted 160 million, which would leave 35 million in, which would cover the 20 million for WSU, and leave 15 million for some other things, which WSU, I think, asked for in their testimony. I don't want to waste the committee's time. And so far, it appears that when it comes to saving money, I'm wasting the committee's time.
Senator Peck, I would just make the comment, I don't think it's ever a waste of time to entertain motions and discussion as it relates to something when you're dealing with this much money, to make sure that we are vetting this budget and being good stewards. So I would respectfully disagree that I appreciate your diligence and in bringing the issues forward. Senator Holland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I think to air out the senator's amendment request, I think I'd like to ask Madam Chair if we could bring the legislative liaison before maybe she could opine on the senator's amendment before I would cast my vote. And I'm interested, we know from the senator how much we'd save, but I just want to know if there's going to be any chaos unleashed if we start kind of whacking some of this stuff. So maybe if our legislative liaison could comment on what the effect of this would be to the existing programs. Thank you.
Would you care to address that, Rachel? Appreciate that.
Yes, Rachel Willis, Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Commerce. I'm sorry, Senator, can you repeat your question? Are we specifically talking about the challenge grants or what piece?
Madam Chair, my inquiry would be is that how does the offered amendment by the senator impact the budget if the amendment were to be adopted? If she could provide some background. Thank you.
And the amendment, just to refresh everyone, is perhaps to drop that down. The discussion is around dropping it to the 35 million requested and then removing the remainder, I believe.
Yeah, so we believe that this is a strong new initiative. This opportunity right now is unique in the cases where we sit, and we think that an investment in higher education is not only an investment in our young people that we want to stay in this great state, but also an economic development investment. And we know that there are both direct and indirect and even induced payoffs and returns from that sort of investment, so that, you know, like, we support, we're excited about this. It would bring a new opportunity to our higher education institutions, and we look forward to partnering with them to bring this full force.
Thank you. Senator Tyson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At the indulgence of the chair, I would ask the previous, the person from the Department of Labor, did she graduate from Kansas schools? And if so, did she have an incentive program? What inspired her to stay in the state of Kansas?
Would you care to respond, Rachel?
Sure. Thank you, Senator. Yes, I graduated from Washburn University and went on and received my master's in public administration from the University of Kansas. I received numerous grants and scholarships and a variety of things to get me through. And it was a priority for me to stay here and serve in public service and return that. And it is my privilege.
Thank you, Madam Chair, but this program did not exist, right? And she chose to stay anyway. I'm just, I have concern, Madam Chair. I will join the comments of the previous senator on the Apex bill that was passed last week. And Senator, that was a tax bill. It was a tax incentive bill. And this committee might find it interesting. 6 of the 9 senators on tax voted no on that legislation. So this is budget legislation, and I get we've been asked to look at their budget diligently. And I appreciate your work, and thank you, Madam Chairman.
Senator Dahl.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to make sure that I'm clear on this. If we put the 35 in, that's with the 20, we're talking about taking, we'll have 55 million that would be taken away from the 195. Is that, am I understanding that correctly?
It would be 35 total. The 20 plus 15 for the Salina campus, so 35 total.
That would be taken off the 195.
Correct, to leave a balance of 160. Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm going to go ahead and make a motion here. I'll remind the committee that these things that I have mentioned here today were not asks by the agency. These were put on top by the governor's recommendation. And so the agency, of course, they'll take the money. I've never seen a government agency yet that told me, don't give us extra money. They've always asking for more and more money. And we always need to remember this money comes from taxpayers when it comes to the state general fund. But commentary aside, I will make a motion that we delete or reduce the governor's recommendation from 195 million to 160, or delete 160 million, reduce it down to 35 million. So we'll see if that gains any traction by bumping the amount from 20 million to 35 million. So I'll go ahead and make that as a motion.
Thank you. And just to clarify, the 35 million is a set aside for the Wichita State request, correct? Okay. We have a motion by Senator Peck, seconded by Stephan, to reduce the amount from 195 million to 35 million on the university grant matching program. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. No. Here's the noes have it. Division, all in favor, please raise your hand. Seeing 3, all opposed, same sign. Seeing 5, motion fails. What I would, yes, Senator Peck, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I will wrap up with one more plus 2 or 3 more. No, I'm kidding, just one more. But I would direct the committee's attention to page 8. Now we're backing up to fiscal year 22. So I want that to be noted in everyone's mind. We're at fiscal year 22, page 8, number 17. There's a recommendation of adding 20 million state general fund to enhance funding for the moderate income housing program in fiscal year 22. This is February. By the time this gets through the legislative process, we will be far down the road, maybe into April. That means the agency would have 2 months to spend $20 million. So my proposal is, I like this program. My proposal is, and I will make it a motion here in a little bit, but I'll just throw it out as a proposal for discussion, unless you prefer a motion first, but would be to delete the $20 million in fiscal year 22 and move $10 million to fiscal year 23 and urge the Senate Ways and Means Committee to consider making this a continuing state general fund appropriation. Now, this sounds like I'm spending money, and I've got a headache apparently or something. No. But in essence, again, because there's no way that they can spend $20 million, I shouldn't say no way. My wife can spend a lot of money that hopefully she's not watching, because that could get me in trouble, but that's a whole other topic. Anyway, but the serious proposal is to delete the funding in 22, move 10 million into 23, and then ask that the Ways and Means consider making this a continuing appropriation going forward.
Why don't we go ahead and take that as a motion, and then we can have discussion. So
that was a motion.
Okay, well, motion by Senator Peck. Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator O'Shea. Discussion. Senator Dahl.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm wondering if the carrier of this amendment or deletion or whatever we call it, if he would consider having 10 million, because I agree with the concept, 10 million for the year 2022 and 10 million for 2023.
Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Again, as I read it, it says the governor recommends adding 20 million to enhance funding. So this is on top of the funding that I already have. So I guess to answer the senator's question, I appreciate him working with me, negotiating, if you will, in public, but I just don't see that they need, in the short window of time they will have in fiscal year 22, additional funding. And again, I'm not saying they should not have the funding, but let's put it into 23, and let's then additionally ask for additional going forward that they're not currently scheduled to get. So not willing to negotiate on that one, Senator.
Senator Dahl.
Thank you. And there again, I appreciate the remarks. Anywhere you go in the state of Kansas, anywhere, moderate income housing is a huge problem everywhere. A lot of there again, I appreciate the 20 million aspect, but a lot of the contracts and such, that we're not going to have the housing built by the end of this year for $20 million. But I think we can have a lot of housing developments put in place, contracts signed by the end of this year. And so I still believe that, you know, working with the good senator from Montgomery, that we could still incentivize, you know, further incentivize moderate income housing, because you go around, this is probably the biggest need, at least everywhere I've been, whether it's a big city or small towns, is moderate income housing, and they can sign contracts. So the money technically wouldn't be spent, but the contracts would be in place to have the money spent.
Senator Ware.
Thank you so much. I would like to hear what the folks from Commerce have to say about what looks like a short amount of time. If they feel, how comfortable are they with that? What plans are perhaps already formulating? You know, that sort of thing, so that we aren't guessing. We actually hear from them what their thoughts are on this.
Welcome back, Rachel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, so this would be a transfer to the State Housing Trust Fund at the Kansas Housing Resource Corporation. And we know that the demand for housing, the housing issue, has been steadfast and constant over the years. And so they're ready. Like I said, that demand is there. The housing assessment report that just came out the end of last year, fully released in January, points to where this moderate income housing needs are. And so I would just say that they're more than ready to hit the ground running.
Rachel, so are you guys, do you feel like you could truly well utilize the full 20 million, or would splitting it between 10 and 10 work as well on that specific?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the continuation is appealing, right? Absolutely, because the demand is so high. But I will say that we're fully prepared and ready for that 20 million. And we know that that will not resolve this issue by any means either, so.
Senator O'Shea.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not sure who my question's for, but would the money have to be spent by a certain time?
Dylan, I see you kind of acting like you're ready to field that one.
Sorry, there's more of a technical question, so I figured I'd field it if that's all right with the committee. So no, it wouldn't, because it's going to be it would have to be spent. It would have to, the transfer would have to be executed before the end of the fiscal year. All right, but once it's in the State Housing Trust Fund, then it would reappropriate normally like any other special revenue fund.
Okay, seeing no other, Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just thought that I would make a comment again, pointing out for the committee's benefit that this is increased funding by the governor above what the agency had requested, and the comment was made that they are fully prepared and ready for the 20 million. Madam Chair, I'm fully prepared and ready for 20 million myself. And anyway, I just thought that I've never seen anyone that wasn't fully prepared and ready for additional money that was not in a hospital or a funeral home. So again, I think that this is a good way to do it. Just move it from one year to the next and continuing going forward, because right now the way it is, there's no recommendation to the Ways and Means Committee that they continue the appropriation going forward. And without this recommendation in here, they will not necessarily know that we're desiring for them to continue going forward, because this is a good program. There's no denying that. I'm not going to disagree with any senator or anyone who spoke about the program. It's not about the program and the benefits of the program to the state of Kansas. It's about when should the money be appropriate and when should it be spent. So with that, I will move my amendment. Thank you.
It's been moved by Senator Peck, seconded by Senator O'Shea, to delete the 20 million from the moderate income housing for fiscal year 2022 and move 10 million to fiscal year 2023, and make a recommendation to Ways and Means for continued appropriation for this program. All those in favor? Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? No. Appears the noes have it. Okay, any other recommendations at this point? I do have one. I want to go back to the university matching grant. And what I would like to propose is that we increase the 20 million to 35 million for the Wichita State Works program. So I would like to make that a formal request of this committee to recommend to Ways and Means. Page 12. Number 27. I would just like to increase the 20 million to 35 million. Senator Ware.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would make that motion that we increase it to 35 million.
Okay. I'll let Senator Ware make that motion. That's fine. So Senator Ware has moved to increase that from 20 million to 35 million. Do I have a second? Senator Holland. Discussion. Senator O'Shea.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question. What's just your thought process behind the purpose of that?
Thank you. I appreciate that question. I believe that that program is a very powerful economic development tool. I think the demand that was exhibited in the presentation last week has shown that that is much needed to keep up with the program and handle that traffic, as well as eventually expanding to Topeka. So I think that it's borne out that it's a profitable, much-needed, in-demand economic driver for the state of Kansas. So that's why I am willing to move forward with expanding to the Salina hangars. Any other discussion or questions? Seeing none, we have a motion by Senator Ware and a second by Senator Holland to increase the funding from the University Matching Grant Program from $20 million to $35 for WSU's Works Program. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Appears the ayes have it. Any other changes or discussion for recommendations? Okay, so what we need to do now is let's go back to fiscal year 2022, and I will need a motion to recommend that favorably to Ways and Means. Senator Holland.
I move the motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you. We have a motion by Senator Holland and a second by Senator Dietrich to approve the budget for fiscal year 2022 as the governor recommends. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? No. Appears the ayes have it, and Senator Tyson and Senator Peck would like their no votes recorded. Moving to fiscal year 2023, I need the same motion as amended with the $35 million amount. So I have a motion. We have a motion by Senator Dietrich to approve the fiscal year 2023 Department of Commerce budget as the governor recommends as amended, and a second by Senator Ware. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? Here's the ayes have it. Do you wish to have your no votes recorded? Senator Peck and Senator Tyson. That wraps up our budget work. Thank you so much, committee, for that. I would, before we adjourn, I would like to take up Senate Bill 382. Senate Bill 382. So, Charles, if you would give us a quick refresher on that.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. As the committee will recall, Senate Bill 382 makes 3 changes to the Real Estate Brokers and Salespersons License Act. First thing the bill does is prohibit individuals or persons acting as employers or owners, officers, or members of associations or trusts from dealing in assignable contracts for the purchase or sale or options on real estate. And that, I think, is kind of the primary focus of the bill. Secondly, the bill makes the provisions of the Act applicable to trusts the same way that the Act currently applies to other business entities. Third, the bill authorizes the Real Estate Commission to issue cease and desist orders for violations of the Act. That's what the bill does.
Any questions for Charles? Okay, committee, what is the will of the committee regarding Senate Bill 382? I have a motion from Senator Dietrich to pass this bill out favorably. Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Ware. Discussion. Seeing none. All those in favor of passing Senate Bill 382 out favorably, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 382 is headed to the floor. Committee, that conducts our business for the day. Thank you so much, and we are adjourned.